great to see you today on Wednesday, May the 27th. And Jeff Dowdy joins me today, the pastor at Swannanoa First Baptist, and Pastor Chris Reese will join me in just a moment. We're going to talk about 3 questions that are relevant to reopening, and the answers can vary according to the context you're in. And so we want to talk about the future of small groups. We'll ask about any potential thought to VBS this summer, what it would look like if that's a positive thought you're having. Children's ministry, how's that going to need to look different in the future? And also music ministry and how we incorporate in our time of worship music. So Jeff, let's talk about the future of small groups as you brainstorm with your leadership at Swannanoa First. What do you see in the immediate future? And what could it evolve to in the future?
We're big believers in Sunday school and small groups. We do it a couple different ways. One is we have in-house Sunday morning traditional Sunday school. But we also have a couple of missional communities that meet throughout the week in homes. So we're trying to suggest to our Sunday school classes to move to more of that in-home model for right now, for this season. Okay. Because a couple of factors. If we start bringing back in Sunday school, some of our Sunday school classes pack out a room. Yeah. There's no way for a Sunday school class to social distance within some of our rooms. Okay. So either we have to multiply those classes to 2 or 3, and you know how popular that is, Perry. Oh, yeah. And then to also see that we have extra teachers and be able to do that, and then all the cleaning. So we're encouraging them to have some in-home studies or in-home times of being in Sunday school. We have some classes that meet on Zoom. We're going to encourage that to continue. But it's something that I think the model, this might be something God's trying to do during this season, is to change some of those models that we've done and traditionally done. But we're trying to move some people maybe into homes at this time.
And you know, many folks have forgotten since 1925 when Sunday school was initiated, small groups, Sunday school, that it was the multiplying of classes that led to great growth in the Sunday school / small groups. So it could be that this is a natural route in some places to create new units, which will lead to greater growth in small groups or Sunday school in the days ahead. Vacation Bible School, Jeff, that's so big for our churches. It's sometimes the most evangelistic week of the year when we get to share the gospel with our community and children and young people. If it's if it's possible this summer, it's going to have to look different. What discussions have you had?
So I was saved at Vacation Bible School, always a very important week for me every year. We put a lot of time into it, and I think that's one of the reasons we've made the decision already to go to a virtual Vacation Bible School. Our children's leader is recording these, teaching at home with a craft and some songs and things like that, to try to encourage the children to come to watch it online. It's not ideal, but the months of April and May is whenever we bring everything together for Vacation Bible School, volunteer meetings and recruiting. And we haven't had those 2 months, so we don't feel like in the month of June when ours was scheduled, we can just roll out a full Vacation Bible School. Not to mention all the other social distancing, cleaning ramifications.
Sure.
So we've already made that decision, and we've already started that recording of the videos, and we're hoping to really encourage children to be on that Vacation Bible School online.
And the planning process, like you say, has to begin in early spring, if not late winter.
Yes.
And so it makes doing it traditionally the way we have very, very difficult.
Right.
Talk to me a little bit about your student ministry, and we're talking about children's ministry having to change and adjust. What do you perceive in student ministry?
So our student pastor, Chris, has been doing online Zoom meetings. Okay. He early on in the pandemic, he drove to every kid's house and delivered a goodie bag and his get up. It was really, really fun to try to engage them in that way. But some things have had to happen. We've had to cancel youth camp, youth mission trip. So he's trying to think of ways this summer to try to get them together. But it's going to be a challenging time. And just trying to stay in contact with them has been the main thing that he's been focusing in on.
Okay, thank you. Music ministry. Some churches in Buncombe County still enjoy the choir. Some churches have transitioned to the the ministry there where you have that praise team. Some have both and enjoy that. What do you see in the days ahead, our music ministry, as we reopen? And how long, if a church has a choir, how long do you perceive it might be before that can happen again?
So our music pastor has been doing some midweek melodies. He's been videoing these, and one week we did have the choir come for that. Okay. So they felt like they were using their gifts, even though we realize on Sunday morning that's going to be a harder thing to do. Because on mid of the week, when it's only the choir there's only 8 or 10 or 15 of them, they could spread out. To have that on a Sunday morning is virtually impossible to do. So we realize it's going to be a praise team in the beginning, and then hopefully we'll be able to use the choir. We use the choir right now once a month, and so we're kind of shooting for maybe a couple months from now being able to bring them back in some capacity. Gotcha. It's going to be a time before that really is something that we can do every month.
Yeah. You've already mentioned the 9 o'clock worship and 11 a.m. worship. Now, would that be the only 2 services or meeting times that you have that week?
Well, we'll do our Wednesday night Zoom meetings.
Zoom.
So we've been doing that since we started this. We have a women's Bible study that also meets on Wednesday nights on Zoom that my wife leads. So we've tried to engage people in that way, but we won't be bringing back Wednesday nights for some time.
Okay.
We're going to try to get the Sunday morning worship service, how that's going to look and how that all comes together down before we start looking at other services to bring back.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Jeff Dowdy, for joining me today. We'll hear from Pastor Chris Reese in just a moment. Pastor Chris Reese joins me today on Wednesday, May the 27th, and we're going to review some questions that can be answered differently according to your context, but we're curious to hear what Pastor Chris would share with us today as he's had discussion with his leadership at Inca Baptist. And so we want to talk about small groups, Chris, and I know Inca Baptist has had traditional Sunday school, and we want to talk about what you see that could be again, or what it would look like, and when possibly small groups or Sunday school could meet again.
Thank you, Perry, again for being able to join you today. We are blessed in our facility that we have adequate Sunday school space, a lot of Sunday school rooms.
Yeah.
But the unfortunate thing is that most of them are small rooms.
Mm.
So to be able to answer that question, I don't know that I can right now, because until some of the social distancing requirements are lifted, I don't see us being able to meet in the classroom for small group Sunday school until some of those are lifted. We have encouraged some of our people to meet via Zoom to try to stay connected with their Sunday school. I've encouraged the senior adult classes to talk to each other via telephone and try to keep up with each other. So right now that's how we'll deal with that. Our Wednesday nights, we stopped our traditional Wednesday night services probably about a year and a half ago and moved it to a Tuesday morning Bible study.
Okay.
I anticipate that being able to start back much sooner than our small group Sunday school will, just simply because we were meeting in the fellowship hall where you can social distance, and I anticipate that coming back pretty soon.
Great. Tell me about any discussion that you had at Inca concerning the possibility of a vacation Bible school. That's such and has been traditionally in our churches, such a dynamic evangelistic week. How do you see that this summer, if it having it at all?
Vacation Bible School has been tremendous for Inca the last 4 years. It's been our largest event every year by far in reaching the community. The unfortunate thing, as Jeff mentioned a few minutes ago, we would have had to have been well into planning and putting it together by now. And not being able to gather together, we've had to reach the difficult decision that this year we don't see a way to be able to do Vacation Bible School. I did like Jeff's idea of a virtual Vacation Bible School, and we may look into that and seeing that maybe happen in our context. But also being in children and youth ministry for 7 years, you can't really get children together and expect them to social distance. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
You would have to have a tremendous amount of volunteers, and it's just, it's virtually impossible to do that. So
Right.
Vacation Bible School, unfortunately, in our context, probably will not happen this year.
Yeah.
But we'll start planning for next year.
Exactly. And I'm aware, I think that many parents would have high concerns about putting their children in a VBS this summer because of those social distancing that just really can't happen among children. So some folks have mentioned the possibility of a one-day VBS on a Saturday morning. You still have the social distancing issues to deal with. Some have mentioned doing that on Wednesday nights for like 3 consecutive Wednesday nights of VBS. If there's not already children's opportunities on Wednesday nights. So there's a lot of various thoughts about what would work in different contexts. But it is going to be a difficult summer to try to host children's and student activities. And I know you're seeing that at Inca First Baptist. So talk to me a little bit about children's ministry looking ahead. Is it going to have to look different? Or are we going to have to approach it different?
It will have to look very different for a little while. Our, children's ministers and youth pastors will have to be very creative in what they do. Whether it's, teenagers or preschoolers or elementary students, they all like to be close. And so we'll have to be real creative on how we tackle children and youth ministry.
Okay. Music, I know Inca values their worship time in music. And so as in all of our churches, they really express their praise very well to the Lord. Some churches still maintain a corporate gathering of choir members and use that. Some churches have transitioned the praise team approach to worship. Some have both. Tell me how you perceive Inca being able to deal with that in the immediate days ahead.
We have worked very hard at trying to provide a blended worship service. And the social distancing is really going to hinder that.
Yeah.
We have a strong choir, we have a strong praise team, we have a strong music ministry, period. The unfortunate thing is our choir loft is not big enough to be able to social distance, because our choir is pretty much crammed into that, and you can't social distance them. So we'll have to go to just our praise team that will be leading the music in our worship service. And again, as soon as CDC health officials give us the okay that we can start drawing them back in closer, then we will reinstitute our choir as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Chris. I'm closing out this session. Let me just go back a step, and you've heard me mention some comments out of churches in Tennessee that have been open since the Mother's Day weekend. Some open this past weekend. And as it relates to music, one congregation had the individual who sang their special wear a mask and sing through a mask because of, singing, holding the microphone close. That was something they were uncomfortable with her doing without a mask. Also, she's putting her hands on it, he or she, putting her hands on the microphone and holding it. Does it need to be sanitized before anybody else picks it up and touches it? So just thoughts that maybe have not crossed our mind before that we're still trying to catch up with. So thank you for joining us today on Wednesday, the 27th of May.